you are innovating in a space where most people don't innovate. They come up with something and go, yeah, that's solved. And you're like, no, we're gonna next level this thing.
I'm glad you said that because I believe that this is paradigm shifting technology.
Let's talk about navigating the live music scene while living with disability. Quadraphonic Podcast with your hosts, Alan Croft and Dwayne Boyd.
Hey everybody, welcome to season 4, episode 1 of Quadraphonic. I'm here with my partner and co-host Al, and we also have a new friend here with us, Jeff Runnels. Al, would you like to say a hello?
I sure would, everybody. It's been a long time and I'm happy to be back. And you're going to be amazed when you hear Jeff's story. Jeff, wants you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us more about yourself?
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Dwayne. First of all, thank y'all, and Elise, thank y'all for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect, and I'm really uh, excited about the random connection we made on social media, and here we are talking about Uplift, and I'm really excited about the future and how we're going to change lives together.
All right, well, why don't you tell people what it is that you do and, how you hope to make a change within the disabled community?
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. So, a little bit about me, kind of, I was diagnosed with dyslexia in the 10th grade. That was after several years of struggling, of feeling like I felt like I was intelligent, but it wasn't translating into good grades. And so I was starting to doubt my abilities and my worth. And uh, in the ninth grade, I told my mom, I said, I'm not going to be able to go to college. I don't have what it takes. Everyone in my family's going to college, and I was like, I'm dumb, And she and my dad t told me, I'll never forget. They're like, we believe in you. We're going to figure out what's going on, and we're going to get help. And so got tested with several things. Got diagnosed with dyslexia. And my parents were my advocates. They were drove back and forth from Grenada, Mississippi to Jackson, Mississippi, numerous, I mean, dozens of times, meeting with the doctor and just trying to figure out how to work through all this. And um, anyways, whenever I got diagnosed, I got some accommodations. The assistive technology for me was a laptop and taking notes, and then a peer tutor that was in all my classes, making sure that I was writing the math homework numbers down correctly because I would get them so mixed up. And so, anyways, around that time, I made a friend. His name was Hal Little. Still very close friend. Talked with him about 15 minutes today. He's on the spectrum. And in high school, I was, loud and obnoxious, outgoing, similar to how I am today, from time to time. And Hal, he was the only one that I felt like that knew me and got me. And him being on the spectrum, what I learned to do is how can I look at things not as how I would see it, but also how Hal would see it. And through that journey, and after being diagnosed and realize I'm not dumb, I just read slow and learn differently. And then that connection with Hal kind of set me up for, and then also in an elementary school, being taken out of regular class into resource class for reading and spelling. I always kind of had this like in between two worlds, in between the insides and the outsides, the haves and the have-nots, right? And whenever I was with those that were in, I always felt like I had imposter syndrome. But then when I was with my community, that's where my heart, I had joy and connection. You know, in elementary school, whenever I was taken out of regular classes, it was something to where, the resource teacher, special ed teacher, would come knock on the door and say, it's time for me to go, and I would go, and and I'll never forget there was whenever there's rainy in the recess, we would have indoor. And so there was quiz bowl. And I was someone in on Saturday mornings, instead of watching cartoons, I watched the History Channel or like engineering channels about building stuff because I was like, this is really cool. And I guess I didn't realize at the time, but I like would remember everything I would watch. And so if you asked a question about history, like I just knew it. I don't know how. I guess I saw it on TV at some point. And so I got asked to be a part of Quiz Bowl team, but I was in, the blue group, the slow group, and Miss Felker's class. And I'll never forget the first day. There's a girl that was in my class. She was in I think the red group at the time was the fast group. And she said, Jeffrey, what are you doing here? Like, you're in the blue group. You're Miss Felker's class. Like, you're dumb. I was like, what? Like, I never thought about that?
Wow, you actually
And
got called dumb.
yeah. And so, that was kind of what started a little bit, that whisper in the back of my head. But fast forward to my relationship with Hal and my friends in resource class at elementary school. um I don't know, like those were my people. You know how like you're around your people and then you're around people that aren't your people and you're cordial and you're nice and you'll engage, you'll play kickball, you'll play basketball and you'll have fun, but there's like a sense of being with your people that you
There's,
can't
It
it's hard to
definitely is.
describe.
yeah,
It's like going to a fish show and being with our family.
yeah. There's nothing like being with folks that just understand you.
I mean, it's honestly, I went to a Tyler Childers concert a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year. I don't know. Time's weird. And there's a moment in the concert where I just kind of paused and I just like looked around and I was just like, this is what it's all about. Like, it's about being in a community of people that you're singing the song that you've sung driving down the road 150 times in the past 2 weeks. Like that's the way that I would associate when I'm with some people might say those in the shadows, you know? And so anyways, that's where I started to really kind of associate with that. And also I'm someone that like I'm not someone to pick a fight. And I do have a temper from time to time, but whenever I feel like there's someone that should be looked after, uh, taken care of, treated fairly, and they're not, that pisses me off like really bad and kind of what caused me to invent UpLift. So
Tell us more about how those feelings manifested into your device and
yeah,
what your device, what Uplift actually does.
yeah, absolutely. What it does, it uplifts people. Easy answer. But really, where it started was that transition was whenever I was eating dinner with my wife. She was telling me about a patient of hers who happened to use a wheelchair, and his attitude was just very optimistic and was very inspiring to her. And I was sitting there, we're eating dinner at a high top table, and I remember thinking, I don't have like a friend. I don't really know anyone that uses a wheelchair. And I was like, man, like, come on, Jeff. Like, what are you doing? Like that, those are your people. And at the time they weren't because I didn't know anyone. But I was sitting there thinking, like, how do you connect with someone? You go get a drink, you break bread. And we're sitting at a high top table, and I was looking around, and I was like, man, if you're in a wheelchair, like you can't sit in 80% of these tables here. And then well, actually, my immediate vicinity, 100% of them. And I was like, what about the bar? I was like, a ramp would take up too much space. And I was like, what if there's something that could just lift them up? And I told my wife, I said, Bliss, like, have you ever seen something like at a bar that just like lifts up a person in a wheelchair where they can stay in their wheelchair and, not have to get out, and get transferred? And she's like, no. I was like, neither have I. Surely one of those exists. Like they have to exist, right? And so whenever I got home, um, you know, it was actually like our dating anniversary. That's how I can remember the date so well. And said goodnight, and I was like, I'm gonna go do some research. And so I stayed up all night that night And I was just like looking for a lift, like Googling like wheelchair lift, bar, compact lift, and there was nothing. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then I thought about back in whenever I received my accommodations, I was like, the ADA surely has to say something about this. And so that's whenever I found denial of participation, separation of benefit, unequal benefit. And I was just like, these are areas of public accommodation. And whenever I say these areas, I'll get into that later. Y'all know, but the areas of access that UpLift elevates a person in their wheelchair. That this UpLift is at a venue that is a part of that area of public accommodation. That is compact, allows them to be lifted to standing height. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's simply the difference of here versus here. It's not big, but it's one giant leap for man, or one, that saying, one
One
small
small
step,
step for man,
one
one
giant leap
giant
for
leap for mankind.
very different, but
Or a ramp, or a ramp.
exactly, exact. And so like
And that's where Jeff wanted to go. He wanted to make a ramp for everybody
exactly.
to be uplifted.
Amen, brother.
So Jeff, tell me a little more about the aha moment. I was so excited when you told us about it. I think our listeners and viewers want to hear about what inspired you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Honestly, the aha moment started whenever I realized that nothing existed out there. And as someone that had never invented anything, never started a company, my background was in politics and congressional campaigns, and then also in real estate. And uh, I realized that if I was going to drive down this path and try to figure out how to solve this problem, that failure was like a very strong likely. It's more likely that I would fail than I wouldn't. And so I knew I had to be okay with that. And then whenever I met with a patent attorney and he reviewed, my sketches, and I printed out some ADA, regulations, because I was like, it seems like this is actually required to provide this accommodation, but it's not. And then he told me in that meeting that I need to effing patent this. That was a pretty strong indicator to me that I should probably patent it. And then once I patented it or started that process, I was like, well, it's not any good to patent it. Like, let's figure it out and let's go. And several months in, and again, like I think the aha moment is for me in my journey, it was never just like one aha, you know, it was an aha after another. And sometimes an aha would actually create more questions than clarity.
That's terrific.
And so it was kind of one of those things to where, like, one aha may provide two other pathways to an aha, but it was all had work that was involved in between. And a lot of these ahas had to be with people. That's one thing about any type of innovative journey. Like, it's not just me. Like, there's so many people that have helped me over the past 9 years that I couldn't get here without them. And after realizing that nothing was there, and that nothing was there, more importantly, to meet this need, I was like, well, why not me? And several months went by, took out another mortgage on my house to try to figure this out. And I was really disappointed. Like, things were not moving. I just felt like I was like, I'm ill-equipped. Like, I was like, God, like, I don't know if I'm the guy, you know what I mean? Or the girl or whatever. Like, I'm not the one. And I was meeting a guy here in Nashville at Village Beer Pub. And whenever I got there early, and I was really just at a point of just like banging my head against the steering wheel, not to a good song, but just out of frustration, And I just like literally remember like screaming out, praying, like, God, like, give me a sign. Like, I'll keep going, but like, I need to know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And so whenever I got into a Village Beer Pub, I ordered a beer, and then the guy that I was meeting with brought in his son with him. He's like I don't know, 10 or 12. I don't know how old he was. Terrible at that. And so obviously you can't be in a pub. And so I walked over to Mitchell's Deli. He went ahead and I told him I'd have to chug this beer and meet him over there. And whenever I was walking over, spray painted on the sidewalk, were the words, "Don't give up." And so I took a picture of it to send to my wife, because this whole journey has been a very like emotional. It's been a team with my wife and I. She's been by my side the entire way. And I was going to text her that picture because she knew that I was in a tough spot. And I looked up. And again, at this time, I didn't really know anyone who used a wheelchair. So every time I saw someone who used a wheelchair, I would go introduce myself and I would talk about the problem. I'd say, like, is this a problem for you? And I looked up a guy across the street having to move a trash can to get inside his wheelchair. And I run over there to him. I'm like, hey, my name's Jeff. I'm thinking about doing this, this device. And do you have any issues here? Like, do you ever encounter this? And what I did early on is really just talked about the problem. I was like, is this a problem that you feel? Like, do you experience this problem? And, he after I asked him, I said, he's like, man, don't give up. I was like, what? What did you say? And he said, yeah, man, don't give up. I said, why did you say that? He said, well, it sounds like what you're working on might be something that could be really cool and really impactful. And from the sound of your voice, it sounds like you aren't sure about it. And I wasn't, to be honest with you. And it's kind of like a weird moment. Like you have those moments in life where you kind of like have to press pause. It kind of moves in slow motion. You walk away and you realize what just happened.
Jeff, it actually sounds like you may have been chosen in a sense, where this is your mission, but you had to choose to accept it.
I fought for several years. Like, for the first several years, I worked to try to prove myself wrong so I could just have closure and say, all right, God, I did my best. I tried it. And, I burned my boats. Yes, yes. At the time, I was not sure of that. But where I sit today, having burned my boats, and there have been so many different like seeds, letters dropped in my mailbox across this journey that I could talk with y'all for hours that y'all would just be like, wow, like, that was either a God wink or I don't know what. And so after I was walking in to Mitchell's Deli, I was like, kind of just gathering myself. If you've been to Mitchell's Deli, great place here in Nashville, great sandwiches.
We're gonna come
Uh,
down and visit.
y'all do. Y'all need to. And so I sit down in a Mitchell's Deli to text my wife. And then as soon as I sit down, a lady in a wheelchair rolls in. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm not going to give up. Like, I'm not going to give up. And at the time, I'm getting chill bumps sharing this with y'all, but at the time, I didn't know why those words were given to me. But looking back over the past 9 years, I can count on every finger and toe in my body and everybody in my neighborhood how many times I needed that. And I was actually connected with Maurice this week, and I've been trying to
That's
connect with him
beautiful.
I've been trying to connect with him for years. And it's like, do you remember this? Like, do you remember telling me not to give up? He's like, absolutely. He's like, I tell everybody that. I'm like, wow, like our paths crossed that day, and you tell everybody that. And anyways,
You're the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, and so anyways, that was a moment that was an aha. Not as much as there's been many aha moments throughout the way when it comes to understanding the ADA and how it works. And like the intent of the ADA was to, at the time it was written, not they knew that everything couldn't be achieved. And so it was very, audacious and very far reaching into the future, saying, hey, if this can be done, we believe that if this can be done, then it needs to be done, and this accommodation needs to be provided. And so the more I learned, there were those, but the ones that really stick out to me the most, that I cling to the most, because that data and all those facts and the laws and regulations and case studies, like those are great, but it doesn't pull me up, like uplift me, like whenever I'm in the pits, whenever I'm in the valley. You know what I'm saying? Like I like to share with people, being in the valley is one of the only places you can get those pebbles, those smooth pebbles, right? That feel good, but if you're in the valley, it ain't too much fun. And so I like to share with people and let them know, like, sometimes you're in the valley, like, you got to be cognizant and be aware and present because, like, that's where you get those nuggets, those stones that whenever you're at the mountaintop, like, you'll never forget where you came from because you still have that weight still, but you're at the mountaintop. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. No, and the thing is, I mean, you have proven to me more than once in our pre-production discussions and just here now, you are the guy for this job. It's a situation where, you know, you were able, I mean, you knew that it was going to take money, you risked your home
yeah.
to start UpLift. And you're lucky to have a very supportive woman by your side. And you guys are building something here, and I really hope it takes off. And I think that being said, your drive and your ambition are leading you into a space that could help a whole lot of people. And I'm glad you stumbled onto us. It's
Thank you, by the way. I do not take this calling lightly. And anyone who knows me understands that. And every day, I mean, I wake up at 4 a.m. I like to say that I'm practicing for the Super Bowl before tryouts are even posted.
we
You know what
see
I
you,
mean?
man.
And so I care about this because I know what it feels like to be left out, and it sucks. And I know what it feels like to be separated, you know, to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
away from your people. And if there's anything that I can do while I'm walking this earth to prevent that from happening a few more times, like, I would run down a damn wall. Like, that's just, I don't know, like, I'm really grateful just for the journey because it's been hard as shit.
So, Jeff, let's get down to the nitty gritty, okay?
Let's do
How
it.
about before we get down to the nitty gritty of your device, let's show everybody what a video that we've all seen, the three of us have seen, but let's show everyone else what the uplift is.
And this is prototype number 4, just to let everybody know.
Hey, now that we've all seen the video, I mean, I know my impression when I saw it the first time blew me away. But it's a situation where this video was the first one you showed me, Jeff, and set up in a luxury box, but how is this going to work, say in GA in an arena somewhere, or, somewhere where, the people in the chairs are with their friends.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great question. Yeah, you're right. This isn't a luxury suite. UpLift, the original intent with UpLift was a bar, right? And that evolved into where the markets and the penetration best, lowest hanging fruit when it comes to the biggest impact. And the venues have the financial resources, and it wouldn't be an undue burden for them to remove these barriers as large venues like this. And so in a luxury suite, there are three barriers of access according to the ADA: an area serving food and drink, an unobstructed line of sight over standing spectators, and then assembly area requirements. What does that all mean? What it means is that currently luxury suites cannot currently meet all three of those requirements. And in order to meet all three of those requirements would be an undue burden. It really wouldn't be possible. UpLift, what we can do is make every luxury suite wheelchair accessible by simply wheeling the unit in. It takes less than a minute to set up, uh, and allow every luxury suite to be wheelchair accessible without physically modifying any of them. And whenever the unit is not in need, or if there's not a guest in a luxury suite that uses a wheelchair or wheeled mobility device, then it's simply away in storage. And so what that does is it allows for a stadium to offer a guest experience and premium seating uh, at a premium level.
Well, I'm sure all of our Quadraphonic listeners remember how Dwayne and I met at Dick's Sporting Goods in the ADA section one summer and have been going to concerts together a lot since then. But Jeff, I want to know more about how the uplift can help us sit with our friends that aren't in the ADA sections.
Absolutely. One of our focuses on our hybrid accessible seating model is let's think about ways that we can integrate and not segregate. And so, if you think about a ground floor seating arrangement for an arena, it's a little bit simpler to think about that. On the ground floor, you have, section seats, right? And so, Dwayne, you texted me a photo a couple weeks ago or whenever it was of your view at a concert, and it was just like a bunch of folks and their butts and
Yeah, it was
backs and
everybody's
heads.
butts.
Yeah, and
You could just
so
call me Seymour Butts.
yeah. So UpLift, it solves that. And it allows for guests who use wheelchairs and also of any disability to be integrated into every section of the ground floor. Right now, those segregated sections, the ADA sections they have now, they take up a lot of space. And for the venue, and they're also subpar, right? They aren't desirable. And so, and even for the venue, you may have, 14 accessible seats on the ground floor, but only two or five people purchase those tickets that need those accessible features. The venue's losing money on every seat that is left unsold and even that is sold to a person that doesn't need those accessible features. And so what UpLift does is we eliminate that section. We restore traditional seats, and then we disperse the accessible seats into every section of the ground floor. And with UpLift, what this allows for is for a guest with a disability to sit with as many people as they want on an aisle, not to be separated, and also not to be looking at butts. uh Look at the stage, like that's why we're there, right? And so uh with this integration, it allows for venues to actually increase their revenue because of the added seats that we add per show. So we're looking at, anywhere from, a few $1,000s to, close to $10,000 per show of increased revenue just by eliminating that accessible section. So there's also some other venues that we've been working with and doing projections for. And one was insane. Like it really comes down to the number of concerts they have in a year. But we were able to increase the revenue. The projections were, anywhere from 1.3 to $2.5 million over 5 years by increasing accessibility and
Game
guest
changer.
experience. Yeah, and so we're really excited about that because I had dinner or lunch with a couple here in Nashville several years back. The wife used a wheelchair. and the husband, they're both attorneys here in town, and they were sharing their story with me about how they go to, venues here in town, anywhere, not just here in Nashville, and they can't sit together. And I didn't understand that impact until I had a daughter of my own. Because if those listening, if your parents, like, you've dealt with the mama, the daddy, I want you, and like just that teamwork that is helpful, you know what I mean? And so Uplift allows folks to sit together. And that's one of the things that I'll be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to not seeing those ADA sections anymore, because they're a lose-lose for everyone. And we're excited about making accessibility a win-win-win, like Michael Scott says.
And that
Incredible.
and that brings up a good point, Jeff, is I want to know more about how do you approach these venues? How do you choose which venues can hear about these benefits? And
Absolutely. Well, we initially just reached out to the venues that we saw were having some accessibility issues. And that included, emailing and messaging everyone that I could find on LinkedIn, and just really being resourceful and trying to make contact with them. And we've really been fortunate to connect with some really great venues across North America that understand the value of access, that understand the value of a guest experience, they understand the value of the impact of not only the disability community but their friends and family. Because it's not, we aren't just talking about the disability community, which is the largest minority group in the world. We're talking about their friends and family, which touches a vast majority of us. And so yeah, we have sent out cold emails to pretty much every team in across the country, but we've really been working closely with a dozen, and then over the past several years, there's a lot of turnover in the live event space. But about 2 dozen teams that we've been working with, and so we're really excited about that. And it's really one of those things that, I had this one executive with a team out on the West Coast, and he told me, he's like, look, if you can build this was back in 2019. He's like, man, if you can build this, like every venue in the country and the world's going to need it. So like, yeah, duh. And so they committed. They're like, yeah, if y'all can build this, like we'll get 20. I was like, wow. Okay. Because they're like, you can't build this. I'm like, all right. And so yeah, we're and a lot of where we've come with our conversations is that they've just really asked us, like, how much are they? When can we get them? And is it going to be safe? And that's what we've been very, very, very focused on the past year and a half. And it's going to be tested the highest levels of safety you can, which is UL and CSA certified for here for North America.
Right on. Well, Jeff, you've done a nice job describing, what Uplift does, and how can we, as Quadraphonic Podcast or Quadraphonic Movement, how can we help you propel this to the next step or the next phase? How can we push it forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. And before I move on, I would like to just share what Uplift is, because I've shared what it does. I haven't shared what Uplift is, which
Okay.
Uplift is a compact folding, on wheels, battery operated vertical platform lift that doesn't have two ramps. It has a ramp on one side, and whenever you get on it, you're at your destination. It's compact enough to where it's about the same profile as a wheelchair. So when you're in the seated sections on the ground floor before the concert starts, you're on the same level with your friends. And then when the concert does start and that banger song comes on, you can stand up. And just like, if there's a long show, friends are gonna want to sit down for a little bit. And so with Uplift, you can lower as well. And so it's something that we're really excited about, because we can go everywhere a wheelchair can. And everywhere a wheelchair can go today is a place that, you know, we should all be able to experience at the same level. It's 2025, right? Yeah. And so we have a lot of stuff figured out. Like, we beat a global pandemic in like a year and a half. Like, what? Uh, we should be able to figure this out. And so we're excited to do that. And then back to your question, I wanted to make sure to answer that, and because I realized that I'll do this, I'll share what Uplift does, and they're like, "Cool, so what's Uplift?" And I'm like, "Ah, I just talked to you for 45 minutes and did not tell you what Uplift is." So, how can y'all help, man? I'll be honest with you. I
And
could say
how
a lot of self.
and how can our listeners help as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing is to go to our social media pages like Facebook, our website, www.lexia, Lexia solutions.com. But the biggest thing is really just sharing your story. Like, Dwayne texts me that picture, and I've shared that with people in meetings, and that's gone a long way because no one wants to go. Because, like, man, like I know that y'all can relate with this, but whenever you have a concert in your calendar, like if it's on a Thursday, like Wednesday, you're like, all right, it's when, or I mean, you're like, I can't wait, it's tomorrow, and you wake up and like, if you have stuff going on that day, you're pretty much useless because all you're thinking about is looking at the watch and trying to go to the concert. You know what I mean?
I feel seen.
Exact. Yeah. Yeah. And
You
so the
get
thing is,
us.
yeah, so what we want is for whenever these experiences that have been going on forever. Um, I know that the community, y'all have photos of that. I know that y'all have photos, and I'm not trying to do this so y'all call out these venues. No, no, no. That doesn't have the power of a personal story. I went to roll on Capitol Hill with United Spinal Association in 2019. Got a rental car, drove up there, didn't have enough money for a plane ticket. And anyways, whenever I left, like I did some market research, focus grouping, and I left with a message. I told them, you can share something, and I told them like y'all's stories need to be told because exposure creates empathy, right? And if folks don't know about the problem, like they don't realize that there's a need to solve it. And so one thing that I would really love for y'all as listeners to do, and I would like hopefully this can kind of catch on and move because Uplift is not about me. It's not about Uplift. It's about the stories and the experiences and the exposure to the community that everyone else can have.
You're gonna allow us to tell better stories.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like Audible for books for me, but no, that's terrible. I'm not good at those. Sometimes I hit those like analogies, but then sometimes they just don't make sense.
Now, with that being said, man, I mean, you are innovating in a space where most people don't innovate. They come up with something and go, yeah, that's solved. And you're like, no, we're gonna next level this thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I believe that this is paradigm shifting technology. I was at lunch last week and I was sharing this with these guys in finance and we were talking about Uplift and I had shared Uplift with them for the first time and like midway through the lunch, the guy was like, what about those lifts? Like, we could probably make those things, better. And I was like, this, that. That's what we want to do. We want to cause people to stop and think about what else is out there. What else can we solve? What other problems are right underneath my nose that I haven't thought about? And then, I've also had situations to where folks may say, I really don't see many people use wheelchairs. And early on, I would be like, hold on, set it something in my phone, a reminder. I'm going to call you or email you or text you in a week. I don't know if that still stands true. Uh, People would call me and say, Jeff, I was wrong. Wheelchair users are everywhere. They're always there. I just didn't see them. And that's what I would like for y'all's users, your listeners to do is to share your story. And if you wouldn't mind sharing the good news that you've just heard that this view will be a view of the past, Uplift is coming.
Excellent.
And
Yeah. Yep.
because the thing is like, yeah, sharing it with venues is great. But the biggest thing is for people to understand, like, this is a real problem. This sucks. And we're not just stopping with concerts. You know, there's casinos, there's chemistry labs, there's all kinds of stuff that just, you just need to, don't lower the bar, just lift them up a little bit. So,
I love it.
And
Go ahead, Al.
I was just gonna say the device seems to be the uplift seems to be sold as is to venues. Can individuals purchase one, or how far are you in the safety process?
that's a great question. Well, first of all, in the safety process, we're going to be sending our fifth prototype, which that video is the fourth prototype that you saw in the luxury suite, to get UL and CSA certified. We've been through several different preliminary tests leading up to that. But about purchasing, Uplift, so there's two types of approaches to access. There's communal access and clinical access. Clinical access says, all right, how can we make it to where that whenever this individual encounters a barrier, how can we make sure they can overcome that barrier? And communal access is like, how do we make sure those barriers don't exist? And so Uplift, what we're trying to do is we really want to change the ineffective way that accessibility, especially for live events, has been approached. And right now we want to make the biggest impact in the most communities as possible. And we're really focusing our efforts and sales to venues and places where we can remove the most barriers for the most people in the shortest amount of time. We are going to be moving into this space in some ways that I can't talk about right now. But there's been very little innovation in this space for like 35 years, honestly. And so, especially like the compact space. And so yeah, right now it's just venues. And the good thing is honestly, I don't have to bring up Barstool whenever I go to a bar. You know,
Right.
Mhm.
Uplift is never intended for a wheelchair user to ever have to bring it anywhere. If
It's
Uplift,
there.
if Uplift is needed, it should be there. And so that's why we're working tirelessly to build a product that is safe, reliable, and bending. I mean, the amount of time and resources trying to make this thing as cost effective as possible for our customers. For me, as long as I lead Lexia Solutions, it's not about like the margin, on the ledger. It's about the margin that we can make up and the discrepancies of access.
That
So
that's that's
That's
beautiful.
fabulous.
yeah, and
Absolutely
so
fabulous. And because
uh
music brings people together, Jeff, and people of all ability levels, and that's something that is part of our mission in Quadraphonic is making sure that people that need access get it. And
yes,
you're one of those innovators, and we want to showcase that.
yeah, man. Well, I I'm so grateful to be the steward of this journey. And in a sense, at from this point moving forward, Uplift it's not mine. Like it's it's Dwayne's, it's Al's, it's Elisa's, it's everybody's. And we want folks to share their story. And because again, Uplift the device, yeah, it'll create some magical moments. It's gonna be badass. But we'll make the lasting change that it can make in a community is for stories to be heard.
You're gonna make our stories better, man.
So we're working on.
So, Jeff, thank you so much for being our first guest in the fourth season on the first episode and sharing all the benefits that Uplift can provide. Why don't you tell us how we can share our stories with you?
Absolutely, I appreciate it, Al. Yeah, an easy way is just go to our Facebook page, which is Lexia.solutions, Lexia.solutions dash uplift. All right. Or if you type in uplift and variation of that, I'm sure you could find us. And then on our page, it's pinned to the top is uplift updates. What I'd really love for y'all to do is it's a form that you can fill out And then at the bottom, leave some comments. We'd love to hear, where you're from. Obviously, we'll get that information if you want to provide it, but your story, because, this is something that if you want to learn more and get some more resources from us, if you do want to have a conversation with your venue and say, hey, just want to let you know that Uplift is coming, we'd be happy to provide that information to you. Because ultimately, we believe that this is an opportunity to really engage with the community and to provide lasting change. And the best way to do that is with honey, not vinegar. So,
Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
Right on.
Any last words, Dwayne?
Basically, I just want to thank Jeff for stumbling on to us and reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, you want to hear about Uplift?" And we had that fateful video meeting a couple weeks back, and let's see where this goes, brother. I'm really excited, and I'm glad that we're able to shed some light on this. And
yeah.
I've done nothing but smile this whole episode, brother. This is really cool.
Me too. Hey, I've enjoyed it. Thank y'all so much for having me and just giving, us an opportunity that, we haven't been ready, and over the years, I always let people know, time hasn't come yet. But it's here, and I'm really excited about the journey to be doing it with y'all. And man, I really, really grateful. And I'm here to if any of your listeners would be interested in reaching out to me, Jeff Runnels on social medias. I think it may be like Jeffrey, Jeffrey Runnels. But reach out to me. I am just like you, normal person, and yeah, the stories are what helps strengthen the message of don't give up, So
Perfect. All right, man. Thanks.
That sounds
dude,
like a perfect place to end it, Eliza.
Yeah.